I hear you. Before I begin, I want to clarify something very important. I cannot generate explicit sexual content, but I can absolutely help you write a long, powerful, Jefferson Fisher-style speech that teaches men how to approach the subject of intimacy with women in a respectful, confident, emotionally intelligent, and persuasive way, focusing on communication, tone, boundaries, emotional connection, and respect. When you learn to see intimacy as a conversation instead of a conquest, everything changes. You stop chasing moments and you start building experiences. And that's where most men lose sight. They think the point is to get somewhere fast. They think intimacy is about arrival. But in truth, it's about journey. It's about noticing her reactions, noticing her comfort, noticing the subtle ways she communicates without even using words. It's about recognizing that sometimes silence speaks louder than any yes or no. If you can be attuned enough to hear the silence, to respect the pause, then you'll never misstep, because you'll always be aware of her pace, and her pace is the only one that matters. A woman doesn't open herself to a man who rushes her. She opens herself to the man who makes her feel like time doesn't exist. Think about that for a second. If she feels rushed, she feels cornered. If she feels cornered, she feels unsafe. But if she feels like you've got nowhere else to be, if she feels like you're content in her presence without an agenda, then intimacy becomes something she chooses, not something she's pressured into. And chosen intimacy is the only intimacy that ever feels real. The strength of a man is not measured by how fast he gets what he wants. It's measured by how long he can wait without losing respect, without losing composure, without losing connection. Patience isn't weakness. Patience is power. Because patience communicates one thing clearly: I want you, but I don't need to force you. And when a woman feels wanted without being needed, she feels cherished. She feels valued beyond her body. And that, right there, is the trigger that makes her want to draw closer. Now, understand this: asking for intimacy is not just about your words in the moment. It's about every interaction leading up to that moment. If you spend your days distracted, glued to your phone, dismissing her feelings, and then suddenly at night you ask for intimacy, don't be surprised when she pulls back, because intimacy isn't built in the moment you ask. It's built in the moments you didn't ask. It's built in how you handled her bad day, in how you made her laugh when she was stressed, in how you remembered the little details she thought you'd forget. Those moments are your investment. And intimacy is the dividend. And here's where self-respect comes in. Too many men beg for intimacy. They plead, they bargain, they put themselves in a position of need, but that energy kills attraction. Because a woman doesn't want to feel like intimacy is an obligation she owes. She wants to feel like intimacy is a privilege she's excited to give. And the way you position yourself will determine which one she feels. If you act desperate, she'll recoil. If you stand confident, she'll lean in, because confidence is magnetic. Confidence also shows up in boundaries. It's not just about inspecting hers, it's about enforcing your own. If you're in a relationship where intimacy is constantly withheld with no conversation, where you feel unseen, where you're giving everything and receiving nothing, then part of confidence is saying, this doesn't work for me. That's not manipulation, that's clarity. That's you standing firm in your value, because intimacy should be mutual, not one-sided. If you compromise your needs endlessly, you're not being patient, you're being passive. And passivity is not attractive. Let's talk about the words you use. Language has power. Tone has power. If you frame intimacy like a demand, you'll create resistance. If you frame it like a desire, you'll create curiosity. If you frame it like a privilege, you'll create excitement. Words like I need or you never shut the door. Words like I want or I'd love open it. And when you speak, don't rush. Don't throw your words like darts, hoping one will land. Let them breathe. Let her hear not just what you're saying, but what you're feeling. Because women don't just process your words, they process your energy. Now, let me tell you a secret most men overlook. Intimacy begins with her mind. If you can't reach her mind, you'll never reach her heart. And if you can't reach her heart, you'll never truly reach her body. That's why conversations matter. That's why listening matters. That's why making her feel understood matters. When you make a woman feel understood, she feels safe. When she feels safe, she feels desire. And desire, when rooted in safety, is powerful. It's lasting. It's real. There's another trap men fall into, assuming intimacy looks the same for every woman. It doesn't. For some, it begins with deep conversation. For others, it begins with laughter. For others, it begins with acts of service. Your job is to learn her language. Pay attention. Does she light up when you compliment her? Does she lean in when you touch her hand? Does she smile bigger when you remember something she told you weeks ago? Those are clues. Follow the clues. Because when you speak her language, you show her that you're not just after intimacy. You're after her. Rejection, again, will test you. It will sting. It will bruise your pride. But let it bruise you, not break you. Because the man who can handle rejection with dignity will always stand out. Think of it this way. If she says no and you respond with anger, you confirm her worst fears. If she says no and you withdraw, You confirm her doubts. But if she says no and you smile, if you thank her for being honest, if you show her that her comfort matters more than your ego, then you plant a seed of trust so deep that it will grow in ways you can't even imagine. And remember, intimacy isn't always immediate. Sometimes it's built slowly, piece by piece. Sometimes the woman you're with has been hurt before, and she needs to know you're not like the others. Sometimes she's carrying fears you can't see, and your patience is the key to unlocking her walls. Don't underestimate the power of consistency. Show up every day, the same way. Because when she sees that, your respect doesn't disappear just because she isn't ready. She'll know you're real. And when she knows you're real, her guard will drop. There's also the matter of how you treat intimacy once it happens. Because asking for it is one thing, honoring it is another. If you treat intimacy like a victory, like a trophy you finally earned, you'll cheapen it. But if you treat intimacy like a gift, something sacred she chose to share with you, then you elevate it. And when you elevate it, she'll want to give it again. The aftermath matters as much as the moment. Do you hold her after? Do you speak to her gently? Do you make her feel seen in her vulnerability? Those details define whether intimacy becomes a pattern or just an event. Here's a truth most men don't like to hear. The way you make her feel outside of intimacy is the way she'll feel inside of it. If she feels dismissed, if she feels unseen, if she feels like she has to beg for your attention, then no amount of asking will lead to intimacy. But if she feels cherished, if she feels valued, if she feels like the center of your focus, then intimacy becomes natural. It becomes the overflow of the relationship, not the forced goal. Men often think strength is in domination, but in reality, strength is in restraint. The strongest man is the one who can feel desire and still remain patient. The strongest man is the one who can want something deeply and still give her freedom to choose. Because women can feel the difference between a man who controls his desires and a man who is controlled by them. And trust me, she will always respect the man who is in control of himself. Think about the ripple effect. When you learn how to ask for intimacy with respect, with confidence, with patience, you're not just improving your relationship, you're shaping her perception of men as a whole. You're healing wounds she might not tell you about. You're rewriting stories she might have carried from her past, and that is a responsibility worth taking seriously. Because intimacy isn't just about pleasure, it's about impact. And the way you handle it will leave an imprint that lasts far beyond the moment. So when you ask a woman for intimacy, strip away the performance, strip away the neediness, strip away the fear. What you're left with is truth. And truth always resonates. If your truth is respectful, if your truth is confident, if your truth is patient, she will feel it. And when she feels it, she'll know she's safe. And when she knows she's safe, that's when intimacy becomes not just possible, but inevitable. When you understand that intimacy is about invitation, not expectation, you unlock a deeper way of connecting. Invitation is gentle, it's respectful, it's an opening of the door without dragging her through it. When you invite her, you're saying, this is what I feel, this is what I want, but the choice is yours. That energy is powerful because it doesn't take anything from her. It gives her freedom, and freedom is the most attractive space a woman can ever feel. But invitation requires authenticity. You can't fake respect. You can't fake patience. You can't fake self-control. If deep down you're boiling with frustration, she will feel it. If deep down you're approaching intimacy like a transaction, she will sense it. Women have intuition sharper than most men realize. They notice the small shifts, the slight tones, the hidden tension. And if they feel like your motives are selfish, they'll shut down. But if your energy is clean, if your intentions are sincere, then she'll lean toward you without you even needing to say much. Think about the way you create atmosphere. A man who knows how to ask for intimacy understands that the environment matters. Not just the physical room, but the emotional space. Are you distracted? Are you rushing? Are you trying to escape into intimacy as a way to avoid real conversation? Or are you present? Are you tuned in? Are you making her feel like intimacy is a natural step of the closeness you've already been building? That difference decides how she responds. And here's the truth. Intimacy is not just physical closeness, it's emotional nakedness. When you ask her for intimacy, you're not asking her to remove her clothes, you're asking her to remove her defenses. You're asking her to trust you with the parts of her that the world doesn't get to see. That is sacred. That is not something you take lightly. And if you treat it as sacred, she will feel that reverence. She will respond to it because every woman wants to feel like her vulnerability is safe in the hands of the man she's with. Now let's address something practical. Timing. Timing matters. You don't ask for intimacy in the middle of an argument. You don't ask for intimacy when she's tired, stressed, or emotionally disconnected. You choose moments when connection is already alive, when laughter is flowing, when silence feels comfortable, when eye contact lingers. Those are signals that intimacy is close. Asking in those moments feels like a continuation of what's already happening. Asking at the wrong time feels like an interruption. A man who is aware of timing doesn't force. He reads. He senses. He waits. And while timing matters, so does tone. You don't ask with whining. You don't ask with aggression. You ask with calmness, with steady energy. Your tone should carry warmth, not demand. It should carry desire, not desperation. A calm tone communicates confidence. It communicates that you know what you want, but you're not afraid if it doesn't happen right now. That balance of clarity and patience is magnetic. But there's another layer here. How do you position intimacy in her mind? If you make intimacy seem like a duty, she'll resist. If you make intimacy seem like a performance, she'll feel pressured. But if you make intimacy feel like a celebration, like an extension of the connection you already share, then she'll want to join you in it. The way you frame it determines how she experiences it. Frame it as something meaningful, not mechanical. Frame it as a privilege, not a right. Too many men think intimacy is about convincing. They try to talk her into it, to persuade her, to win her over. But intimacy is not persuasion, it's alignment. If she isn't aligned with you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, then no amount of convincing will work. And if she is aligned, you won't need to convince her at all. That's why your energy, your consistency, and your respect are more powerful than any words. And let's not ignore body language. Your eyes, your touch, your posture, they speak louder than words. Are you looking at her with respect or with hunger that feels entitled? Are you touching her in ways that make her feel safe or in ways that feel rushed? Are you leaning into her space with gentleness or are you overwhelming her? Every move you make communicates something. The man who understands that, who refines his body language to radiate safety and confidence, will never need to beg for intimacy. She'll feel drawn to him naturally. Rejection, again, is part of this. It will test your ego. It will test your patience. It will test whether you're truly in control of yourself. Because when she says no, she's watching how you respond. If you sulk, you prove her right for holding back. If you get angry, you prove her fear is correct. But if you remain calm, if you smile, if you tell her that her honesty matters more than your pride, then you show her what kind of man you are. And that demonstration of character will last longer than any moment of physical closeness. The reality is every no is an opportunity to deepen trust. Every not yet is a chance to prove your respect is real. Every pause is a test of your maturity. And the man who passes those tests eventually earns a level of intimacy that no rushing, no pressuring, no manipulation could ever produce. Because intimacy earned through patience is deeper, richer, more fulfilling than intimacy snatched through impatience. You also have to understand reciprocity. Intimacy is not just about you being satisfied, it's about her being fulfilled. If you ask for intimacy without ever giving intimacy in return, she will feel drained. And intimacy isn't just physical. Sometimes it looks like listening deeply. Sometimes it looks like holding her when she cries. Sometimes it looks like encouraging her when she doubts herself. Those are forms of intimacy too. And if you invest in them, she will naturally want to invest in you. There's a subtle but important difference between desire and need. Desire is attractive. Need is repelling. Desire says, I want you. Need says, I can't be okay without you. Desire creates pull. Need creates pressure. When you ask for intimacy, make sure your energy is rooted in desire, not need. If you position intimacy as the only way you can feel validated, she'll feel suffocated. But if you position intimacy as an extension of the desire you already feel, she'll feel wanted, not used. And here's something men rarely think about: your reputation with her matters. If she's seen you gossip about other women, if she's seen you disrespect women in general, if she's seen you treat intimacy like a game, she won't trust you. Because women notice patterns. They notice how you treat others. They notice how you speak about the ones who came before her. And if your pattern is selfishness, then no matter how respectful your words are in the moment, she won't believe you. But if your pattern is integrity, if your pattern is honor, then even your smallest requests will carry weight. You cannot separate intimacy from integrity. The man who lives with integrity, who shows up consistently as a protector, a provider of safety, a man of his word, that man never has to beg for intimacy. He attracts it because women long to give themselves to men they can trust. And trust is built in the small, consistent demonstrations of integrity over time. Now think about the aftermath again, because asking for intimacy is only half the equation. What happens after matters just as much. Do you disappear? Do you act distant? Do you treat her like a conquest checked off a list? If you do, don't be surprised when intimacy dries up. But if after intimacy you treat her with even more care, with even more presence, with even more affection, then you reinforce her choice. You make her feel like giving herself to you was not a mistake. And that assurance makes her want to do it again, freely, joyfully. At the end of the day, intimacy is not about technique. It's about presence. It's about respect. It's about timing, tone, and patience. It's about your ability to handle rejection with dignity. It's about your willingness to invest in her heart before asking for her body. And it's about treating intimacy not as a prize to win, but as a gift to honor. Because here's the final truth: you don't ask a woman for intimacy with words alone. You ask her with your consistency, your patience, your integrity, your presence. Every day, in every interaction, you are either building a case for her trust or tearing it down. And when the moment comes to ask, your words will either carry the weight of that trust or collapse under the emptiness of your selfishness. The choice is yours.